Hello, hello, hello. What's up, man?
Hi. It's good, good. How are you?
Good. Uh, you ready for some coaching today, dude? It's been a little bit.
Yes, yes. I am
Um,
ready.
yeah. So, last time we talked, just I'm trying to remember here. Let's see what my memory is. Last time we talked, you were still around Diamond League Zerg on EU, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That is still the case. Except officially now I'm chilling in Bronze 3, like everyone else.
Oh yeah, nice, right? That's the good old bugs of the game.
But
uh,
yeah, MMR wise, like 3.9 kind of, which is sort of
okay,
where where I've been cruising for a while.
not bad. Uh, what have you been thinking about? What are you thinking about
Oh,
working on today?
yeah.
Yes, yes. So I would
ZvP,
really
ooh,
like to
ooh,
do
ooh,
some
ooh, ooh, ooh,
ZvP
you.
actually, because we've been on the Terran train for forever. But currently, I think I have like an okay idea of what to do with Terran. Because last time you talked me through, you like showed sort of like a lurker based build and an
Yeah.
ultralisk based build against bio, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And I mean, of course, I lose games, but I think I have a fair idea of sort of most of the time why I lose. I forget to get my bending speed and
Yeah.
don't like supply block myself and all that kind of good stuff. But with Protoss, I'm sort of a lot more in the dark about what's actually what build should I even do.
Okay. So you want to focus on some Protoss today?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sick. Okay. So what's your like? If you were to tell me right now what your go-to against Protoss is, what are you kind of like aiming for nowadays?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So either basically, if Protoss is building a ground army, I aim to get like upgraded lurkers and go like push their face with Lurker Hydra. That's kind of that's
Okay.
sort of my game
Yeah,
plan
that's not bad.
in
That's
one sentence.
overall
And
that's
and,
solid.
and if they go Sky Toss, which is like 50% of the games, is like someone just rushing immediately to Sky Toss out of Void Race and a third. Um, I sort of this is really mindless, but this is what I do. Like I try to go to like 85 drones and then make just pure Hydra circling and just go until one of us is dead.
Okay.
And
Sure.
that's yeah,
Ballsy move right
that,
there.
that's really brainless play, but that's kind of what I do.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely one of the yeah. It's like making it until one of us dies for sure. It's definitely not the most elaborate play style. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's usually just a sign of like impatience of just being like, fuck this matchup. I'm just gonna go and kill you now, or try to.
Yes, I think I can foresee that something more intelligent to do against Skytoss might be like an area of improvement.
Yeah. Um. So, okay. Final question about everything we're talking about today. It would be, uh, would you again? I think we've done this before, like both ways. But would you prefer that we possibly go over some replays and talk about it that way? Which again, that works just fine. Or would you prefer that I kind of like run you through what I think would be a good style for you, and then we kind of break it down and have you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling. I'm honestly,
Yeah,
personally, I'm
yeah,
kind of feeling like I should break it down. I mean, if you
yeah,
obviously you're the
maybe,
boss
yeah,
of it.
maybe that's it. Because I had a little perusal through my replays here, and again, I don't really have like great. I mean, we could watch me get completely flattened by a guy called Kahuna Burger, but
Sure. Oh yeah,
yeah.
hell yeah, dude. Yeah,
No,
because
I think it would be great if you broke down the um, a good style.
sure.
That was very useful when you did that with Terran.
Okay.
I think I learned a lot.
Okay. So, you're on the you're. I'll jump over to the European server to meet up with you,
Yeah, yes, yes.
and then I'll make a game for you, and we'll talk about specific moments in the game that are like super important and all that kind of stuff. Uh, but here we go. I'll make a game really quickly. I'll just make okay, my maps are, there we go. My maps are now loading. So we'll just make like one of the most standard maps. I would say this style that I'm going to show you overall is going to work on every map except for submarine. And the reason why it's not going to work on submarine is because this style is defensive and submarine is favored to aggression. So the map is really tiny and it's a big pain in the ass.
I like the looks of it, but I haven't vetoed since like last.
Okay, yeah, same. Yeah, that's good. Okay, well then you're good to go. This will work for you in ladder in general. So what we're gonna do, well, like a quick breakdown, okay? This is a quick breakdown of what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna basically show you a build that's going to have transitions, and it's not that complicated. It's like we open up with Roach Greed. We have potential Ling like scouts into Roach Greed, into eventually into Hydras, and then once we're on Hydras, we can literally focus the game heavily on that, and then we can go into like Hydra Lurker, and we're kind of mostly done there. There's a lot more things you could do beyond that as well, but for the sake of where you are at right now, if you just get to the phase of Hydra Lurker, you're set. That's solid. So what like the key parts we're going to talk about as well that are super important is understanding how to read a Protoss. And in general, the Lings are going to be useful at times to tell us, like the reason why we're getting speed Lings isn't to do things. Like you could do this if you wanted to, but it's not really designed to be like, we're going to go for a massive amount of Lings and we're going to go do an all-in or something like that. We're not going to, the general focus of the build is not to be super aggressive with the Lings or with the Roaches, but it's to have the ability to be able to switch into those units if you need to. So like for instance, it would be like if your opponent is really aggressive early, you could use speedlings in conjunction with something like either roaches or even spine crawlers. If it's like let's say it's proxy gates all together, like it's straight up full all in, you could definitely go down the Ling path to make yourself not die. If he's like a mid-game timing kind of player where let's say he hits you like at 5 minutes or like 5 minutes and 20 seconds with like this big 2-base all in, you could definitely go, you'll have access to roaches there. We'll break that down too and how we can know this is happening from Protoss. And then you could be just going, instead of going Hydras and Lurkers, you just go legit mass Roach Ravager. And then if you have any excess minerals and larva that's just sitting there, you could add on Zerglings to it. However, if your opponent doesn't all in you, it's just the build flows now into Hydra, and then we'll go from there. So scouting with this build is going to be, again, I'm going to try and talk about through it and make sure it makes sense. And if you have any questions about anything while we're going, by all means, feel free to ask if something doesn't make sense. But scouting with this build is going to be important, I would say. And the best way you can abuse a Protoss is finding out what tech path they're going to go for. And it changes what your reaction should mostly be like. So, for instance, if your opponent goes for like a robo first, you're gonna want to see, you know, is this a, because I will say some Protosses like it's more rare, but some Protosses like to go defensive robo at higher levels, like for instance turtling into Colossus. And most Protosses though that open robo will be more on the aggressive side, like they'll do an immortal timing or something like that. So it's definitely identifying these things, and this is what Lings will do for you a lot, and we'll talk a lot about how to use them. If the person is a council opening Protoss, it's about identifying if it's going to be like a charge lot or an adept all in, or if it's going to be all the way into like Dark Templars. And again, Lings will help you so much at discovering this. And then those two things definitely require like, so all of the council pretty much, and half of the robo builds, which is like immortal all-ins or charge lot adept all-ins, really quick DT pressures into like timings. These things all require you to make units faster than normal. So you'll die if you just don't have an understanding of what these things mean. This is where roaches come into play super heavily.
Yeah.
And then if the guy goes for Stargate, there's a very good chance you're going to be able to get away with a lot of drones. So it would be like the build would just go to kind of down a different path. It ultimately leads to the same place. It just gets there through a different pathway. And then again, speed Lings are super important to all of this, mainly because it's, you know, it's they're giving you the answers all the way throughout the game. I'll definitely run you through the scouting and see how we go. So, I know it sounded like a lot, and I'll try to break down as much of it as I can as we go. But are you ready? You ready to do this?
Yes,
okay.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. And again, yeah, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that, what you said, kind of makes sense, and especially this, like, identifying early aggression and figuring out when to make units is obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's because I mean, you don't
There's a lot of room for improvement there.
Yeah, like you don't want to be making units when you don't need to make units, right? Because if you do that, it's just putting you in a situation where your economy is weaker, and if you're not actually planning on doing a timing, then there is no need to make those units at that point in time.
Yeah, no, I mean, ideally, I would have like not to build roaches.
All right, so I'm gonna throw this out there to chat right now to my stream chat and say, if there's anybody who is around diamond level Protoss that would like to help me give an example game, I would. And again, you don't have to tell me how you play or anything like that. It's like I want you to play your diamond style against me if you want to play, and I want to give a real live example against a real Protoss. But for now, I just want to give an example of the build and see how it runs, right? For you, Tusked. But stream if someone wants to play, log in and let's set something up right after this if you guys don't mind. Okay, so how the build's going for us so far is I'm setting my first Overlord out, and I'm setting my second Overlord to my natural. Gonna take a 16 hatch, all super hunky-dory, super standard. Oops, there we go. Gonna take my drones again, all the way to 18.
So this is going to be like a normal sort of speedling expand.
Yeah, pretty much. For the opening, it's gonna be pretty normal. And then we'll take our pool. Okay, we'll take our gas. And now our first Overlord's almost to his base, and this first Overlord's going to be super important. And the reason why, and now that our first Overlord's there, we can start sending our second Overlord to the back of the base. The reason why this first Overlord is so important is because the biggest mistake a lot of Zergs make is they treat ZvP the same as ZvT. And what happens is a lot of, like, for instance, when you play against Terran, you're always like, I need to make Lings for the Reaper. I don't want to have a Reaper kill me, so you make Lings all the time, but against Protoss, you don't need to do this. Against Protoss, generally speaking, around 220, like, this is why I kind of want to play a real person as well, right? Around 220 is when the core is going to be done.
The Overlord is actually going to see the build, so there needs to be a real build there.
Yeah. Like, the 220 is usually when the core is finished, normally, and then that's when the Protoss starts making units. So, based on if our Overlord gets attacked or not, notice how all I've been doing so far is making drones. This is what you're going to do against real Protosses as well. Then you can go ahead and...
Yeah, am I right that you try to figure out whether it's adept and you make rings against the adept,
exactly,
and if it's just a stalker, you
can make drones. Yeah, 100%. Because that's like it. If it's a stalker and he kills the Overlord, you can pay your Overlord off so fast with more drones. And if you don't have Lings just sitting here doing nothing, then it's nice. But now, no matter what, even if it wasn't an adept, at this point in the build, right around 315, you're going to be like, okay, well now I'm ready to make a round of Lings. And the reason why this makes sense is because if you look at the Ling build time, it's in 17 seconds. Look at this, the pool's speed upgrade time. It's in the next like 10 seconds. So now we're actually making our what's it called? Our speedlings as we have speedlings. And now what we can do with these things is we can now get aggressive and we can poke the front door of the Protoss's base. Now it's not about trying to kill the Protoss right now. It's not about like actually trying to bust the base open and like, you know, eliminate their natural. That's a bit excessive. It's not what we're going for. What the real goal is we just want to scout the front door. Be like, what are you making? What are you making? What are you making? And then back off. And once we back off, what we do is we always drop a Ling. We drop a Zergling at both of the potential third bases of Protoss. And now if we don't see it, and we're also starting a roach warren right around like 350 to 4 minutes. And if you do not see a, what's it called? If you do not see a third base go down before 5 minutes, by then your roach warren will 100% be done. Still, all we're doing right now is making drones. We're just making drones for the moment. And if we don't see a third base go down by 5 minutes, we need to start making what I like to call safety roaches. So we're almost to 5 minutes, right? Let's keep injecting our bases. Our economy it's banging. It's booming out of control right now. And look at
the second gas timing was a bit earlier than for CVT, right?
So the idea is we're still saturating our gases when we have a nice saturation of let me pause it actually and say this. So we started taking our gases around like halfway saturation on our third base. That's when we started taking our gases. And
okay, so it's like the same. It's like
yeah, and then once the gases are done, then we can saturate it, and that's all good. But we go to 5 minutes. Like, so what we're doing between 3:30 to like 3:30 to 3:40 is when our lings spawn out of the eggs, and then that's when we're like running around going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And when we check the base, so let me say it like this. There's two scouting paths here. The first scouting path is when our overlord went into the guy's base, and if we could guarantee what tech he was going for, then that's amazing, right? We're like, oh, we know he's going for a robo, or now we know he's going for a council, or now we know he's going for a Stargate. So if you can actually confirm what tech he's going for, that gives you so much answers as to what his build will most likely lead into. Because obviously if he opens up robo, he's not going for like Dark Templars, or he's not going for charge lots, or he's not going for Blink Stalkers, because if he is, that's a really inefficient way to do it.
They really need the council first,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So that's yeah. The fact that you understand that already is really good, right? So you can already.
I have listened to some of your videos.
Yeah, right. The opening tech path of the Protoss is going to tell you a lot about the follow-up potential timing that could be a potential, like it could be something that's threatening to you. So Stargate first is definitely going to be air threat. Robo first is going to be immortal threat. And Council first is going to be upgraded gateway unit threat, or potentially DT all the way to DTs. So again, yeah, that's how you can really focus on that. Is Robo's based off the Robo, Stargate's based off of air units, and gateway and Council's based off the gateway, as the focus. And now, what we're gonna do after we see the opening tech, if we can spot it, wonderful. If we can't, it's still okay. We're going to take our lings after like 3:30, and we're going to scout the doorway of the Protoss about every 30 seconds. So if we scouted the front door at 3:30, and then we backed off and we're like, all right, cool, let's leave a ling at both third bases of Protoss. So just to see when he wants to take it. And then let's say we scout the doorway again at 4 minutes. And let's say I see sentries. And especially if I've already confirmed that it's a robo. I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely looking like it's going to potentially be a sentry all-in. Like Sentry Immortal all-in, like the choo-choo train of Protoss. Or let's say it was a council first, and I see 5 adepts behind his base, behind his doorway at like 4 minutes and 4 seconds or something. Like now I know, okay, it's looking like it might be, since it's adept first, or since it's council first, and there's a lot of adepts in the doorway, it's probably going to be a resonating glaive timing. Let's say, here's another one. Let's say it's a council first, and there's legit just a stalker in the door. He not only killed my overlord after I saw the council, but it's just a stalker sitting there, and he's not showing me anything else. Well, now I'm going to be like, okay, he's either hiding his units that he's massing, like maybe he's going charge lots or something, and he's just not showing me. And he's making a bunch of gates right now. Or maybe he's going all the way to DTs, and he actually doesn't have units. Maybe he's actually just rushing DT tech, and there's legit just a stalker and a battery, and that's all he has for the moment. That's very possible. And it makes sense, right? Because Protoss doesn't know what we're doing. He doesn't know if I'm an all-in him or not, and the fact that I have speedlings running around the front of his base is going to definitely make him feel a bit paranoid, because there's no reason why I couldn't all-in him right now if I wanted to. Like, that's a very threatening thing for Protoss. So if he's going to make units, he's probably going to reveal his units because he's going to guard the doorway, and if he's not going to make units, it means he probably doesn't have them because he's teching really hard. Because that, at least if he makes units and he has them in the doorway, the thing about that is, like, think about this for a second. Let's say he was going to go for a resonating glaive timing, and he was going to hide his adepts until I, whatever it's called, until I, or until he was ready to push me with his glaive upgrade. What if I just showed up with 8 roaches and I just flooded lings behind that, and I broke the stalker before his adepts got down to the natural because he was hiding them like in his main base. And then suddenly I'm flooding in my lings into his base because the stalker died too fast before the adepts could arrive. And now my lings are not getting stuck in a doorway fighting adepts one at a time, but my lings are fully surrounding his adepts. And my roaches now just flood in as well, and he just dies. So, and then that would suck, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Roachling Olin is like a credible threat.
Yeah, so he needs to make sure his wall.
I mean, I don't know how to do it, but it's pretty powerful.
Well, I mean, I can. Here's the thing, right? I can show you how to do it. It's super simple. This is all you do, okay? This is all. If you want to do a Roachling All-In, all you do is you just never take gases 2 and 3. You saturate mineral lines 1 and 2, and you don't really saturate mineral line 3. So you basically stop droning off of 1 gas and 2 mineral lines, and then you have 3 queens ejecting 3 hatcheries, and you just make roaches first. Like, so instead of making the lings at like 315, 330, you'll have enough gas if you never stop mining gas for about 8 roaches by then. And you make a bunch of overlords in the process of waiting for the roaches to get ready to be made, because like, again, what are you doing instead of making drones to the 3rd? You're making extra overlords so your supply can raise. And what are you doing instead of making lings first? You make roaches first, and then you just mass lings behind it. And then that's all you do the whole game from there is make roach ling. Like, mostly ling, but a little bit of roach focus. And then your roaches show up first, so you don't reveal the lings first. You just show up actually with roaches. And then you have lings right behind it. And all you do is you focus down the wall, get the stalker or zealot or adept or whatever, killed it in the wall, and you flood lings right away right in there. And as soon as you breach the wall, and you now get full surrounds on his army with your lings, and you keep flooding lings the whole time, it's so hard for Protoss to not die there. That's all it is. And that's a real threat for Protoss at this stage of the game. Like, Protoss is definitely fucking scared about that. So again, all our lings are doing is it's reconfirming what tech he's most likely going for. That's the whole point of the lings. We're just trying to deduce what he has and what we've seen, and, you know, what it makes sense that it would be going for. Because, like, if I see 5 adepts, I'm not going to think, oh, he's going Void Rays, right? Even if I don't know what his tech is. I'm going to already assume it's a council. Like, he could, here's the thing, though. He could do these things, but you have to realize if someone does something out of order, it just means, yes, they can do that, but it's less efficient, so it's easier to defend that and, like, stop it. So 5 minutes is the big, super important part of versing Protoss. Because if they don't take a 3rd by 5 minutes, again, what we're going to do is we're going to take safety roaches. And what I mean by that is I'm going to build, no matter what, at this point in the game, I'm going to build probably like around 8 roaches. It could be 7, it could be 6, it could be 9, it could be 10, but definitely try to get close to 8. So the farther away you get from 8, the more inefficient it's going to possibly be. So, like, if you make 17 roaches and you're like, is that good? It's like, okay, that was maybe a little bit too expensive, because if your opponent is just taking a delayed 3rd, you just made 17 roaches that are just going to now kind of do nothing, like right off the bat. Because the Protoss is definitely going to take a 3rd soon if he hasn't taken one yet, if that's his plan. It's just you have to know this. Taking a 3rd base before 5 minutes is efficient. That is actually good for Protoss. It's what it should be. And if they don't take it, it's most likely all-inning you. So if you make 8 safety roaches and then you stop making roaches for a second, and now let's say you've gotten to a point where you're at 5 minutes and like 30 seconds, and you scout the doorway of Protoss again, you should definitely see a lot of shit there. And if you're like, because again, that's the lings keep scouting, right? It's not like we don't stop scouting with the lings. And now when we made safety roaches, if we're at like now like 5:30 and the Protoss still has no focus of expanding, you're more than welcome to then start massing roaches. And you could play a style of going, okay, well, I'll just go for 200 supply of roaches. And the reason why, and like Roach Ravager, and the reason why is because if that Protoss is going to play that inefficient, he's doing one of 2 things. He's just about to all-in you, or he's doing like this weird fucking like 2-base Colossus like all-in or something like that. Because that...
like, okay, like sort of one big gateway attack or some weird...
Yeah, like, he's no one in their right mind as Protoss is going to sit there on 2 bases and be like, I'll take my 38 minutes. And I'm not doing anything aggressive as well. Like, that just means that dude is... That's like silver level status or like gold level status, right? That's where it's just massively inefficient for no reason. So Not again, we're talking Diamond League here, so you're probably not going to encounter
Yeah,
Protoss like that very often.
yeah. I feel like what I go up with is against is like either like reasonably early thirds or like council
Yeah, no,
based all in.
I would say
I mean,
I would
other
say
things happen too, but that's like
yeah,
the bread and butter.
I would say a Protoss in Diamond League on average is probably going to take their third by 5:30 at the latest. But most of them will probably take their third by like 5 minutes, I bet. Excuse me, sorry. So I don't expect Protoss you're playing against right now to play like flawless pro players or something like that. Like every time third base is at 440 or 435 or something super efficient, cut and clean. Obviously, I don't expect that, but I do think they'll take it at a reasonable time. So again, what we're gonna do now is I would be scouting the front door of the base. I'm gonna make my safety roaches, and then if my opponent doesn't have any intention at all to take a third base, I would then go, okay, well, now we go roaches and ravagers, and we prepare for the inevitable attack of Protoss. Or otherwise, if we get to a high supply and our Protoss opponent then tries to take a third, if the Protoss tries to take a third when he's at like 100 supply and we're at 180 because we've just been cranking roaches now, we can run his third over and run his army over in the process. So, and if the Protoss is standard though and he has a third, well, we'll progress the game as is. So just know, again, no third right now. I would just we make safety roaches and then still no third after that. We would mass roaches, but we'll play this as if we assume he has a third. Okay, we'll be like, oh, we scouted a third base. So, and again, this is why I want to reel up Protoss for an example as well, because it gives you a better visual. Anyways, yeah, here we go. So now I'm gonna make about 8 roaches for safety. Okay, and now we just made 7 so far. We can run now also 1 Ling around the map, just to make, and then we are also running back to the front door, and we're just making sure we're not missing something. So I'd be like, I'm checking his door again right now, right? I'd be looking to see what his comp is.
Look for that proxy pylon or whatever.
Yeah, that not only the pylon, but also the potential of a hidden base. Because if this dude is actually on 3 bases and we just don't know it, and we're not realizing that could be a problem. So you're more than welcome to scout the map while you're scouting the base. Again, it's just 1 Ling, and we made about like 12 of them. And now, I'm going to pause it one more time and say this. So notice how I made the safety roaches, and plenty of time has gone by now. And now I'm ready to spend Malarva on my next wave again on something, and my drone count already is pretty good. I already have 56 drones. That's not bad. That's like 2.5 bases of drones. But if my opponent still has no third, this is, again, when we go roaches. We're just like, all right, yeah, this is fucked. We're definitely going roaches now. But if our opponent does have a third, now this is when we make the transition. So now, assuming there is a third, we now go back into drones. We now make our Hydralist den, and we make double Evo chamber. And then we go into a 4th base as well. And look how fast our drone count just went up to like 70 plus. With just like, literally in the last like 10 seconds, we just cranked from 56 to 70 plus. So now all of our bases are really well saturated. Our main base just needs the gas to be saturated. It does have enough drones for it, but our main base just needs the gas. And now we're good to go. And now is when you, again, what you're going to want to be doing now is you're going to want to be paying close attention. I'm going to pause one more time and say this. So even if your opponent takes a 3rd base at this point, once you have 3 base full saturation, you still need to pay attention to what can happen. So I would recommend that you have an idea in mind of knowing, like, where is the Protoss, essentially. So if the Protoss is at his 3rd base, the best thing you can do now would be, let's say the top, where my Ling is on the top of it, like, so you go to his main base, you go north, there's a natural, go north again to that 3rd base. We'll pretend that we saw the Protoss 2nd base there, okay? The best thing you could do for yourself is do something like this. So what we would do is we would send 1 Ling to the front of both exits of that base. So like so. Like we have 2 Lings now. Like 1 Ling's already sitting there, and 1 Ling is going up there right now. And now my Lings are now sitting there.
Like keeping track of the paths.
Yeah, and now I know if he's gonna attack me. And if he doesn't attack me, all I want to do is do 1 quick round of drones again. It's just 1 round of drones. If he does attack me, I'm going to not make drones. So, but either way, if once I make that run of drones, from this point on, now all we're doing is making units. Like, now we can actually make Hydras, and you know, and we're good to go. And we go, at this point now, once we have the full saturation, we can go into an infestation pit. And we can go into our hive tech, which is also going to pair with our lurker den once we get to that point. So if you have a lot of gas, you're going to be able to make your hydras. If you don't have enough gas and you have way too many minerals, that's when you're going to start adding back in lings and just obviously overlords back into your build. But getting this fourth down properly, if you can get away with it and not be hit by a timing, it's so massive if you do it fast. Okay, and then now we have our hive. Now that we're starting our hive, we're going to pair that with a lurker den. Also, we don't have a lot of gas, so let's make a bunch of lings to pair with this, to pair with our, our expenses. We can also take another base because our bases are mining out. We want to definitely keep on top of that. And then obviously our creeps threat this game is kind of abysmal. We could definitely fix that too. So our creep should definitely just be spreading in a lot of directions. And once you have like a bunch of active creep, you can turn your other creep starting queen into once again an injector. And now we have a situation where we're just literally making as many hydras as possible, but we're not delaying our upgrades and we're not delaying our tech for it. So we're prioritizing tech and upgrades, and then hydras fill in the rest. And then whatever minerals we have excess is just going to fill back into lings. So now you can see we have 2-2 started. Lurker Den and Hive are almost done at the same time. And now we're getting ready to go into adrenal glands plus lurker upgrades, which is going to be another round of gas. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of a gas bank as we hit Hive to do this. So Lurker Den just finished. Hive is done in about the next 5 seconds. At this point, I won't have suggested that you have attacked yet, because you're still on your way to maxing. So we get lurker upgrades, we get ling upgrades, and now, just now, our Hydra just got upgraded fully. So now, not only do the Hydras max, not only do we hit max supply, but our Hydras also got good upgrades at the same time. And now is when you can be creative about how you want to attack. Do you want to multi-prong? Do you want to focus one base? Do you want to blah, 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 whatever you want to do? I would say, just to throw it out there, multi-prong right now probably makes more sense. And the reason why is because our army that we're using right now falls into the category. If you've ever heard me talk about this, I might have talked to you about this as well before. But this army we're using right now falls into the category of mobility, not power.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, because our army,
super speedy.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be able to do more damage to his economy than to his army. We could kill his army hypothetically, but if we wanted to launch an attack that was something like, let's just say hypothetically, we sent all of our roaches and the majority, if not all of our lings, to like outside where his natural is, where he like it's not currently able to be seen yet. And then let's say we sent the majority of our all of our hydras and maybe some of our lings, or just the hydras. Let's say because these hydras have speed now, so they can definitely retreat if we need to, or we're going to, right? So our hydras could go to like the north of his third base, and we could poke him, and we could get his attention, and then we could send all of our roach and ling to his natural, and I could use my roaches to help bust down the unit in the doorway, because the unit's probably going to be there. And the second I bust down the unit in the doorway, I could then flood all my lings into his base. And all my lings and roaches are very disposable, so if I run them into his base to kill his economy, if they all die, if all my lings die after that, and my 6 roaches that I have, or 8 roaches that I have, if they all die, that's totally fine. Because again, our style is becoming Lurker Hydra. So I don't really want roaches anymore, and lings are so replaceable. I can make them all on the snap of a finger, and I'm like, cool, I just lost 50 lings, and I have 50 lings again. What's up, sorry?
Gonna have a ridiculous mineral bank anyways. So
exactly. Like, lings are very replaceable. It's not bad if we lose lings. It's like, if I can kill like 30 probes and I lose 50 lings, that's fucking amazing for Zerg. Let's just remake 50 lings, and Protoss is now limping around with his bad economy. And then from there, what we can do is every time we take little trades like this, now we have lurker upgrades, and now we also have adrenal glands, and we also have evo chamber upgrades going up to a bigger, stronger degree. So if I lose, let's say 30 supply off of this timing, I can back off, I can make lurkers, and then I can now re-engage with lurker Hydra Ling. And now once we have lurkers, the army no longer is as, it still has some mobility aspects to it, but it's definitely power now, because lurkers changed that composition from mobility to power. Like, lurkers are the siege there. They're super fucking strong.
They're so good. I just love lurkers.
Yeah, they're amazing, right? And then that also allows us to do things like, what if the Protoss has a 4th base now, or a 5th base, or whatever? We could definitely use our lings to always counterattack a different base. So let's say we want to siege his 4th base with Lurker Hydra. I could just counterattack his natural, or like his 3rd base with just lings. Or if he has a 5th base, same thing again. I could always attack different bases with my Lings. Like for instance, if he has, let's say he has 5 bases. Let's say he's got the 4 bases in a line all the way up to the top right of the map, and then he's got the 5th base that's like just below the cliff where his main is. What if I siege his 5th base with my Lurker Hydra, which is more in like the middle of the map, and let's say I run Lings on the very north edge of the map, and I go all the way to the 4th base in top right. Like, that would be a great place to do that, because I'm spreading my army out very much, but it's only my Lings that are countering, and it's mostly my Lurker Hydra that are pushing things. And that's all you do with this playstyle, is once you get to this stage, you stick to it the whole time. And you get weapon and armor for Lurker and Hydra. So here's, let me explain this to you really fast. If you know, without a doubt, 100% guarantee, your opponent is going ground, you should go melee and missile weapons. So get weapon upgrades for Lings and Hydras.
Yeah.
However, if you know without a doubt your opponent has a Stargate, and your opponent is going Skytoss in some way, like he's making air units, you should go missile weapons and Carapace. So don't get Ling upgrades, essentially. Just get armor and weapons for Hydras. Because if you don't have armor on Hydras and he's going Skytoss, you're going to have a bad day. And then if you're confused, just go to Carapace and missile weapons. And if your opponent switches into Skytoss, let's say you scout, oh, he's starting to make air units at like minute 8 in the game or minute 9 in the game. Stop making, like, if your upgrade is like just recently started, you can definitely cancel it and go for the other instead. So let's say he was opening ground units early on, and you made missile weapons and melee weapons because he was going ground focused. It was like Immortals or Robo or whatever. This is going to make your Ling counterattacks way more effective, right? That's why it's super good. And the Carapace is not as relevant versus a ground army, because your Lurkers are the whole point you're using here, and Lurkers are going to just demolish shit, and it's more effective to go for melee Carapace. Or sorry, to go for melee missile. But if, let's just say you have level 1 melee and level 1 missile weapons out of your double evos, because you saw he was going ground. And now, when you're running your Lings around his base, or when you're running your Hydras around his base, you're like, oh shit, he's starting to make air units. That means he's switching his tech, and you need to start making Carapace upgrades, and just literally finish off missile weapons to level 3, keep prioritizing that, and now stop prioritizing melee and start prioritizing Carapace. And then once you have missile weapons level 3 done, Carapace will be either like level 2 or something, or level 1. Then you can go back into your other Evo chamber to continue upgrading melee once again. So, does that make sense? Does that concept make sense?
Yes, I think it does.
Okay, and the reason why you do this, is because you're not trying to end the game. If the game somehow ends because you just took a nice fight against the Protoss, that's wonderful, but you're not actually trying to end the game with your Hydra Ling phase of the game. That's not the point of this. So you're not trying to all in the guy with Hydra Ling all day. You're just maxing out the first time with it, and then it's going right into Lurkers right after that when you lose some of your supply. And again, even when you're on the phase without Lurkers, you're trying to also not fully engage with your Hydras either. Like, unless the Protoss takes terrible fights, and you're like, okay, well, I actually just kind of crushed him, then sure, then you can aggressively attack with Hydra Ling. But the only time that you should be fighting a Protoss player, realistically, with your Hydra Ling at this phase of the game, is when all you're doing is trying to kill his base and you're avoiding his army. That's like aggressively, that's the only way you do it. Or if you just recently defended an army on creep defensively and you killed an entire Protoss army and you were like, wow, that was convincing for me. I definitely crushed him there and I'm still maxed out. Then if you could launch an attack at his base, then you can then obviously run his army over because he's pretty dead already. And that's fine.
Okay, so sort of in terms of tactics, it's very much like attacking Terra, I guess.
Yes, like you don't actually want to, if nothing has happened, if no one has really like lost the game already, where it's like, wow, he took a bad fight. If nothing has happened and you're the one initiating the aggression, do not lose your Hydras. Don't take a fight and be like, oh, I just lost 40 Hydras. Let's rebuild 40 Hydras now. You don't want to do that. That is not good. You want to, because what you're doing, because again, the reason why it's not good here is because you just invested a lot of your resources into going into a hive, into going into lurker upgrades, into going into lurker din itself, into going into adrenal glands for Lings. Like you actually went to all these other forms of tech that are not active yet, which is going to weaken your timing. This is not supposed to be a timing. It's supposed to be harassment. It's supposed to be like an army that's going to keep Protoss defensive while we potentially do damage to him. It's not even guaranteed. If he defends really well, then obviously we can't do damage to him. But our real timing is when we have lurkers with lurker upgrades, and when we have also Ling upgrades to adrenal glands. And now suddenly our real attacks then, about 2 minutes from now, are fucking so powerful. Like that's like our power spike. So you definitely don't want to lose your army before that power spike, because then you don't have a power spike anymore because you're trying to rebuild the army that you just threw away. Lings are replaceable. Hydras are not. Hydras are more expensive. So, and I think about it like this: if our goal or our concept of our build was to do, like a Ling all-in with Ling Hydra, we might as well have just made a macro hatch instead of an infestation pit and a lurker den and a hive, and we just might as well have just gone for it, right? Just like literally a move across the map with non-stop flooding, because
I mean that's literally what I do if I see someone go to Sky Toss.
yeah.
Directly.
And here's the thing, right? Let me tell you something about Sky Toss. It's pretty effective. If you see they're going for Carapace, or if you see they're going for Stargate and you respond with Carapace, and you just the way you engage Protoss is, again, same exact thing I just said. You engage with Hydra Lurker and have Ling's counterattack. There's a good chance you're going to do lots of damage to his economy. But the cool thing you can do is if you burrow Lurkers in front of, like, to start the fight, basically. The Lurkers, they are the ones that engage. And your Hydras don't engage beyond the Lurker. The Hydras never go in front of the Lurker. The Hydras literally sit there with, like, their arms crossed while the Lurkers kill the base. And the Hydras sit behind the Lurker. And now if the guy goes Sky Toss, you kill him off of the Lurkers. Like, you let him at, like, the Lurkers are basically like the sponge for damage. Like, they're the tank. Like, they're the meat shield that guard, that, like, it just initially takes the hits for the Hydras. And the Hydras only, they don't push forward and attack the Sky Toss forward. They allow the Sky Toss to come to you, and then you kill the Sky Toss off of the Lurker. And what this does for you is, like, a lot of things. It makes your Hydras way, you maintain DPS of Hydras longer, because you're killing Sky Toss units while he's killing Lurkers, and you're not losing Hydras. The second thing it does, so, like, straight up, it makes your Hydras kill his Sky Toss faster, because you have, like, all your DPS uptime is still there the whole time. The second thing it does, which is the most important thing of all, is it makes your Lurkers have more time to kill his ground units that are supporting his air. So if it's a bunch of Zealots that have charge, if it's Archons with it, if it has Storm, like if there are High Templars that are running at your Hydras to storm you, he has to run deeper into Lurker territory to do this. And there's a good chance that all of his Templars are going to die before he even gets there. Like, very high chance. If you have like 12 Lurkers just cleaving like 8 High Templars that are trying to come forward, and the Templars have to go all the way through the Lurker cleave radius to then start storming Hydras, because again, your Hydras are behind the Lurkers. The Lurkers are going to kill all the Templar before they get there. It's very, very likely to happen. So, and then let's say he has a bunch of carriers, right? Let's say he's got like 10 carriers trying to kill you, and he's attacking your Hydra, or he's attacking your Lurkers. Lurkers have more than double the HP of a Hydra, and they also have more base armor than a Hydra. Lurkers have 200 hit points, Hydras have 90, and Hydras have 0 base armor, so it means with level 3 Carapace, they get to only 3 armor. And Lurkers have 1 base armor, so it means that they have 200 health and 4 armor, because with level 3 armor, they have 3 plus 1 because they have the base armor as well. So a Lurker has more health by a lot and more armor as well, which means it tanks carrier damage so much better. And if you have, like, let's say you have like 30 Hydras and like 12 Lurkers fighting like 10 carriers and some High Templar and Archon, you're going to deplete all of the interceptors by the time you lose like 4 or 5 Lurkers. Because again, none of your Hydras are dying. The way you lose that fight, though, is when your Hydras go forward and they get stormed once or twice. And now carriers are killing Hydras that are all either like yellow to red health. Because you're like, oh, I'm trying to move out of the storms. And while you're moving out of the storms, what is also happening? You're losing Hydras while you're running out of a storm. And you're not doing any damage. And he's killing, he just maybe softens up like 13 Hydras while you run out of a storm. And then he kills like 5 Hydras while you're also running out of storm with his carriers. And you're like, well, my Hydra count just got depleted a little bit. Now instead of 30, I have 25. He storms you again. You do the same thing again. You're like running away again. And you lose another like 5. And now you only have 2/3 of what you started with. So, and then you haven't like even killed the interceptors yet. So this style of just baiting lurkers and having them also kill the base, it forces reactions from Protoss because you're sieging his base. And then you just kill air off of lurkers. It's so fucking strong. How do you feel about that?
That's interesting because I mean I've obviously done the entirely wrong thing, right? Because I've you know, every time pretty much that I've tried to use lurkers against someone who has sky toss, I sort of felt, oh, this doesn't.
The best way to fight Scott, the best way to beat.
They just kill them off, right? But what you're saying makes a lot of sense because they're tanky as hell, right? It's really funny to see lurkers getting stormed because they just don't die.
Yeah, exactly. And then your lurkers, if your lurkers get stormed and all of his Templars die to storm your lurkers, and then he also then starts killing your lurkers with carrier, and you just pop. You're just watching interceptors pop like because you have. Like 3 or 4 of them are popping a second because you have 30 Hydras just sniping all these interceptors, killing a lurker. Suddenly, after like 3 or 4 lurkers die out of like 12, now he doesn't have like 100 interceptors. Now he's only got like 30. And you can actually see it's not a swarm of interceptors anymore. It's actually, they're all kind of isolated now. They're still all over the place, but they're a lot more isolated than they were before. And now you're watching the lurkers barely go down in HP because now it's almost like the last wave of interceptors that go attack a lurker, it's like you're killing the payload of the carrier to the point to where as they engage a lurker, all the interceptors are kind of popping and dying. And then once there's no interceptors left over, it takes the carrier 9 seconds per interceptor and 8 interceptors of a payload to recharge that carrier. So it's over a minute to fill that carrier up again. And think about how much damage you could do to Protoss if now he's in that mode where he's like, oh shit, run away with my carriers. Uh-oh. You can just literally kill that base you're killing right now, uproot your lurkers, and push forward with your Hydra Lurker and kill like the next base as well. And if you kill like 2 or 3 bases with your lurkers before he's let his carriers fully recharge, you could just be like, you know what? Now let's just say hypothetically, you're like, well, now I only have like 5 lurkers left, and I know he's got full interceptor capacity again because he backed off, but I did just fuck his economy up. What if I just go home again and just remake like another like 8 lurkers? And now I go right back into that range of having like 12, 13, 14 lurkers or something. And then I re-engage the exact same way I just did before. And now he's got no money because we just killed his expansions. So he'll just die, essentially. Because interceptors also are not free. So just know that if you kill a Protoss' economy and you keep killing their interceptors, they will run out of money. That's 15 interceptors per, or 15 minerals per interceptor. And at 8 interceptors, again, you're spending over 100 minerals. 120 minerals to recharge a carrier, and if you're recharging 10 carriers, that's 1,200 minerals every time he wastes his interceptor payload. And if he has no economy, you're gonna deplete 1,200 minerals repeatedly over and over and over pretty fast to try and just keep recharging the carrier. And again, there's a lot more to this. I don't think you're ready for it yet though, just because again, You need if you just get good at this concept, you could easily be like high masters, maybe even GM. Honestly, legit. If you are good about how you position.
Sounds like I should. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, so you go. It's okay. It's all good.
No, I was just gonna say it really sounds like I could be literally aiming to go. I could aim to like do the same thing every game.
Yeah.
To go.
This build, it's because that's why
lurker Hydra macro build.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Yeah, that's why I was telling you that
my life a lot.
This build, the only thing that deviates this build from doing this every game is if they all in you. That's why I made a big emphasis on the Lings and the Roaches early.
Yes.
So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and if they don't all in you, well, then you can just do this every time. It does not matter if they're going ground or air. And then here's a cool trick. Okay, here's a cool trick. I'm just gonna, I'm not telling you to do this, but here's an idea. Later on, when you get even better, you can also add in Infestors and Vipers, and there's so many things you can do to make it even better. Like, for instance, Microbial Shroud is actually good now because of the way we bait lurkers. It's like a new concept that's actually it's made that ability not shit anymore. It's also because Void Rays got buffed and Templars got buffed, so now it forces Zerg to actually do things like bait your lurkers. And now just imagining if you're baiting your lurker and you also Microbial Shroud your lurker, they're even tankier versus air units. It's fucking insane how good they are. Like, basically, remember how I said like 4 or 5 lurkers will die? If you have Microbial Shroud, you'll lose like 0. It's ridiculous how good it is. Because what it does is it takes 50% of the damage of the air unit off right away, and a carrier at full upgrades does 8 damage times 2 per shot. And a Lurker has 4 armor, so if you take half of the damage off because of Microbial Shroud, it means carriers are doing 4 times 2 per shot, which is the same the same armor a Lurker has. And if a unit ever matches damage to armor in this game, and they attack it, you can't ever do 0. That doesn't ever work in this game. If the armor is either equal or greater than damage, it means that the damage is always 0.5, so it has to attack twice to do 1 damage. So if the carrier also has 2 attacks, it means that each time an interceptor shoots a Lurker, it will do 1 damage. And that's, if a Lurker has 200 health, you'd have to shoot the Lurker 200 times to kill it, and that's not even including how it regenerates. So it's fucking, like, pros are like, oh my god, Lurkers can't die. This is annoying. And then you're just killing interceptors as well, so you're reducing the interceptor count pretty fast. Another thing you could do, again, which is, I'm not telling you to do it right now, but it's a cool thing you could do. You could actually use Abduct with a Viper over your Lurkers as he tries to engage. You just abduct one carrier. You then fungal that carrier, and you Parasitic Bomb that carrier while Microbial Shrouding your Lurkers. And what that does is it makes the carrier a staging point, like right above your Lurker, for Parasitic Bomb, which does AoE to all of the interceptors in the area, and then you fungal on top of that, which also does AoE damage to the interceptors in the area, and it also slows them down so that they sit in the Parasitic Bomb longer. Meanwhile, all those interceptors are there because they're trying to kill Lurkers in the area, and you can literally pop about 100 interceptors in about 3 seconds. Now, again, that's advanced.
Just like the answer to the question, Vibe, can you get all the possible spellcaster spells?
No, yeah, right. Again, that's what I'm saying. That's super fucking advanced. I'm not be like, that's how you do it. Like, if you get really good at this game, that's how you could do it. I actually have done that. It's very doable. It's hard, but it's very doable.
I need to.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I need to hurry up and like get into Masters League so I can start playing with spellcasters.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you want to do one thing, I would say, if you get comfortable, really comfortable with this style I just told you, of Lurker Hydra Ling, you can definitely add in Infestors, and you don't have to make a lot of them. Just make like 2. And only every time you're going to take a fight and the Protoss is now engaging you, try to see what it feels like when you just throw down a Microbial Shroud over your Lurkers. And then, your Hydras are behind the Lurkers, and they're just popping all the Interceptors. Like, if you get really, again, don't do that right away. Get comfortable with Hydra Ling Lurker first, and then try adding in Microbial Shroud, and we get really comfortable with that. Then add in Microbial Shroud and Fungal, and then when you get really comfortable with that, then you can try adding in Vipers as well. But just Ling Lurker Hydra, I'm dead serious. You can get high masters, possibly even GM with that style, if you understand how to manipulate the map to your advantage, which is breaking the Protoss' economy with like Ling counters and good Hydra Lurker pushes. Like you're not running your Hydras into death repeatedly and stuff like that. Okay. So again, if this game was still going, what we would do from here is I would, whatever Lings die while I try to counterattack his base. And again, this is actually 80 Lings. If 80 Lings died, I wouldn't even care, right? Because I could just remax it immediately. If I wanted to make that again. Because look how much money I have and look how much larva we have. We definitely could do that. Easy peasy. And then, it's just trying to always set up the attack again and again and again and again. Lurker Hydra pushing something down while Lings counter. So now we can jump out of this game. I mean, the Protoss is going to die here. And I can try to get a game going, actual game. And we'll do just a real quick live example. And this will probably take like 10 minutes or something. But any questions so far about anything?
Yeah, look, so 2 quick questions. Number of Lurkers. I think you said 12 at some point. Is that like around the proper number?
Yeah. Sorry, you said how many Lurkers? Sorry, I had to...
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry, Zach.
You said...
Yeah, I think you said 12 at some point. What's like the number of Lurkers?
I would say 12 Lurkers. Around 12 Lurkers is really good. Yeah. So, like, again, if you have, like, that's why it's just like the roach thing. Like, 8 roaches early for the safety version is really good. Like, that's a solid amount to have for that stage of the game. If you end up making, like, 16 lurkers, just know that the more lurkers... Like, 12 is already going to get the job done. And if you make more than that, and let's say your opponent's going Sky Toss, that just means that you're going to have more lurker, less Hydra. So you're going to... Like, it means that more of your lurkers are probably going to die in the situation where you guys fight each other because you have less Hydras killing interceptors. But 12 is enough. The reason why 12 is a solid number is because it's enough to where if, like, let's say the Protoss engages you with ground and air together, like Archon, Templar, you have enough lurkers to very rapidly kill units in a quick fashion. Like, you can kill a lurker in, like, 2 cleaves there with lurkers. Like, 2 auto attacks, Archon dies. Or, let's say some of you, like 4 of your lurkers start shooting a unit on the left side because it happens to be aggroed first, and it's not actually cleaving towards the Templar. And now 8 of your other lurkers that are actually aggroing the Templar first, they actually shoot at the Templar. It increases the chances that the RNG is not going to fuck you. So you're going to have a higher chance that the majority of your lurkers are still going to kill the, you know, what needs to die, like the Templar, for instance. That is definitely what you want to kill there. And then also, it makes it to where 12 is still enough to really kill shit quickly. And if you lose 1, 2, 3 of your lurkers to the initial part of the fight, now if you drop down to like 8 lurkers or 9 lurkers, that's still a solid amount. It's still not bad. But it's assuming that you might have already lost some during the fight. But let's just say hypothetically, let's say you start the fight with 8. And as he engages, he kills like 4 of them. And now you only have 4 lurkers. Suddenly 4 lurkers are going to not feel that intimidating. And you're going to be like, am I actually like killing anything anymore? Like 8 is like the minimum of like good, essentially. So if like you start with 8 and you start losing lurkers as the fight starts, you're no longer going to have a good feeling of lurker. It's going to be like, okay, this lurker army feels like crap. But you know, like the same thing again. Like let's say you make like 18 or 17 lurkers, and you lose a few lurkers to, you know, as his ground army engages, but then you just completely fucking decimate his ground army, and now you're like, shit. He's actually not even killing my lurkers anymore. He's literally just killing my Hydras with his air, because he has so fucking many, and he's killing all of my stuff with his air. I like can't stop it. I only have like 18 Hydras instead of 30, or like 18 Hydras instead of like 27 or some shit like that, because like the less you have, obviously the less DPS you're gonna have in your army. Can you log into the European server? You're on? Okay. All right, give me 1 second, Martine. I'm gonna set up a game really fast, and then feel free to ask me questions as well. I'm still listening to you because I have a wireless headset, but I'm gonna really quickly be right back. I gotta go. I got a person playing us. I just gotta help her get in the game.
Yeah. Okay, so other question was just, I mean, I saved the replay, so I'm gonna look at it. But recap of the droning scheme was really like, in the early build, I think everything was basically the same against Terran, except that we pause at 5. If there isn't a third, we'll need to pause to make those safety roaches, right? And then again, if there's still like an attack coming after saturating 3 bases, we really need to like make the extra unit. But other than that, it seemed like the basic sort of droning points were kind of the same.
And thanks for playing. Thanks for playing, Hannah.
Thank you.
So you're ready. And then, so yeah, it's really just it's the timings that are important here are definitely the 5 minutes. Like seeing with the base with the first Overlord, checking periodically with our Lings, and then overall at 5 minutes, seeing what the Protoss is doing, and if the Protoss is definitely not expanding at that point, we can definitely decide to go all in, and it's totally fine. Like we can definitely decide to make a lot of roaches, which could eventually become an all in for us, and again, that's fine. You ready? Okay. She's ready, so let's do it. Okay. So she's actually about the same as you are. She's mostly plays on NA. She's in like the diamond range, lower diamond range. So this would be probably a person you'd run into on ladder on a normal basis, right?
Yeah.
And then again, it's just concepts, right? It's the main Fokisola. Good luck, have fun. Gola, have fun. Okay, so yeah, we're just chilling right now. I am you know, gonna do the build. We're gonna make our lings. Everything's gonna be the same, and we'll really get to see what it looks like. And again, I'll be playing. So she also asked, "Do you want me to do anything specific?" And I said, "Just play whatever you want to do." And the reason why is because I want to actually go through the process of scouting what she's gonna do, because we'll break down what it means, with like what it logically looks like, and then we'll make deductions onto it, and then it'll turn into the same build we've been talking about. So she might, for all I know, she might all in me. It could, and if she does, I might just make a lot of roaches then.
Salads, go.
What's up?
Proxy 4-gate salads, go.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. Oh no. No, I would just make lings and spines then if that happened.
I think I had a proud moment recently when I defended like the proxy salad thing, probably for the first time in forever.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, that's sick.
Sometimes lightning strikes.
Yeah. Okay, and now we can make our Overlord. We can now send our second Overlord out to scout because we know we guaranteed we're not getting cannon rush because we watched it long enough, and now the hatchery is going to just be done, so we're not even worried anymore. So first Overlord's going to scout the base, second Overlord's going to follow up the scout, but if I see a Stargate right away, I'm just going to turn my second Overlord around and be like, well, I'm just going to lose it to a Void Ray or something anyway, so I might as well just not lose it. So first Overlord's getting to the base. We take 2 drones off of gas so I can get my speed, and then we're good. And we want to take our third base here pretty soon. Okay, we see a core with a gateway chronode and a nexus. This looks super standard from Protoss. That's what you normally will see. Now we're going to go deeper in the base because I don't care what pops out of that gateway, and the reason why is because that unit should be attacking my Overlord by about 245, roughly. And the reason why we know this is because we know that the core was done and the gateway was being chronoed by like 220. So if a unit's chronoed, it'll pop out in 20 seconds out of a normal gateway, and that gives also like 5 seconds of time for the unit to get to my base. So check out what we just saw. We just saw a Stargate, right? And look, we're 3 minutes now, and I'm not getting attacked. So now I feel like there might be an Adept. There's a chance it's an Adept. So let's go ahead and make some Lings now, or a little bit earlier than we would have otherwise, because if we don't make Lings, and suddenly like 2 Adepts show up at my base, I'll lose drones, and we don't want that. If there was a Stalker, I would have made drones until we got speed. And now that I know it's a Stargate, remember how we talked about the second Overlord? Just pull it back. Be like, oh, okay, we'll leave now. We can leave the first Overlord here for a sec. Mainly because we can go back in and check what's being built. What unit is it starting with? Is it a Void Ray? What is it? Okay. Now let's go take our third base with this Queen. Now we can go out and scout the map with our Lings. And behind this now, we're going to still make our Roach Warren. We want to make a Roach Warren like around 350 again. We'll make it right now like at 347. That's fine. And now we're still making drones. We still only have 1 guy on gas. And now what do I see? I see 2 Adepts, right? So now I'm starting to think, okay, multiple Adepts. This is definitely making me feel like there's a potential aggression coming. And it also is a Stargate. Also out of the Stargate, it's a Void Ray. And it's another Void Ray being built. So this is where it deviates. Remember how I said like we're going to make the roaches if it's going to be a robo or if it's going to be a council. But now the Stargate's the one-off one where we want to make drones more because there's not really a big ground attack coming, most likely. So what we're going to do now is I'm still going to take the same gas timings we've been taking before. I'm going to take double gas at like half saturation on my third. I'm going to refill my main base with drones as soon as I have a nicely saturated base as well. So as soon as I take these gases, I'm going to take my gas in my main again. And now I'm just making drones. I'm actually not making roaches. And I can make queens as an alternate. Now, here we go. Look at the probe here. Right? There's a probe going for the third base. So I already know this Protoss has the intention of taking a third. And now look at my drone count already. We are cruising on good drone count right now. And we're making, normally we don't make queens against Robo or Council, but we are making queens this game because it doesn't matter. It does not matter if the Protoss has, you know, what's it called? Fucking, like, it doesn't matter if we have roaches or not because the Protoss is not pushing me to the ground. The Protoss is opening up Void or Heavy. So now that we have all our bases fully saturated, we're at, or we need gas for our natural actually. Now we're at 66 drones on 4 bases. Now I can make roaches. So I made roaches after saturating 3 base instead of before. Against Council and against Council and Robo, I would have made it before. But against Stargate, I made it after because we have not been attacked by anything, nor should we have because we scouted a Stargate. And the only thing that we could get attacked with by her Stargate, it would have been voids, really. And if it was also like, oh, there comes like 3 adepts without an upgrade, we could just start making lings if we needed to, or roaches if we needed to at that point in the game. And now what I'm going to do? Now we have safety roaches. We're not going to get attacked. So now what we can do is the same thing we did the last game, in the example, which is if we get attacked, we have queens to help us, like, you know, supplement the difference here. But we can make drones now once again to 80, the 80 range, because again we've already guaranteed it's not an all in. We're not getting all in right now. So instead what we're gonna do is we just made 1 quick round of drones, and now look, we're getting attacked, right? If this happens and you lose a base, that's okay, because you can just retake a base somewhere else. And we're a little out of position, and the better your creep spread is, the more likely you're not gonna take damage like this. Okay, we can pull our queen back to our other queen, get our queens together, and then fight this. And now we're making hydras. And how about we just retake this base again? Let's go ahead and build our creep again. Now we know it's Stargate as well, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna get weapons and carapace on our Evo chambers. We're not getting melee because it's air. We don't want melee upgrades now. Keep expanding. And now we have hydras. If we get attacked further, we have hydras that we can now push the Protoss away with. So again, the queens are not supposed to like win the game here. It's just supposed to push the Protoss away. And now look at what we're doing with our gas, right? We're spending all of our gas until we have no gas, but we're saving it enough for upgrades and tech, and we're fine on that. Upgrades have already been started, and our tech is about to go into a hive. Now that we're about to start a hive, we saved enough gas for a lurker din and a hive. Now we have no gas again. So now what can we do? We can make a bunch of lings. And now we can see we're getting hit by a bunch of charge lots, again, which is fine. And I say the charge lots are probably more priority here, because if I lose a hatchery or if I lose the game, I would rather kill the charge lots than die. But if we kill this, it's okay. Just rebuild the bases once again. Rebuild the base that died. Rebuild the base that died. And now we're still in the phase of going Hydra Ling. How many drones do we have? We still have 80-ish. And now we have 85. We just made a couple more. And we're totally good. That attack was definitely aggressive from the Protoss, for sure. But we managed to be totally fine, because even though we made drones to 80, we're not wasting time and just like sitting here with our thumb up our bum doing nothing, right? And now we need some gas to save again, right? We need to start 2-2. We need to start lurker upgrades, and we need to start adrenal glands all really soon. So let's save gas, and let's make lings. Okay, we're getting attacked again on the top side of the map, so let's regroup my army into the top. And we're losing bases again. It's annoying, right? But just retake your bases again. Start lurker upgrades. Start ling upgrades. Start 2-2 upgrades. We actually save the main base. And again, the better my creep spread gets, the more likely I'll see these timings coming at me. Take another base again. Trying to just rebuild bases that die. We can transfuse our queens down there because they're just fighting a void. It's another base that's going to die again. Cancel it. Retake it again. And now, again, we can go back into making hydras all over again. And look, now, okay, now it's a big all-in. So even though I was wrong, and it was a lot of zealots, we were still okay. And why was I wrong? We should have scouted for the third more likely. So we kind of assumed the third was there, and the third was not there. So it was kind of fucked, right? But we still managed to make it work.
Okay.
So I would say, going back and looking at that, if I went all the way back to 5 minutes, right? Look at 5 minutes. So this is gonna be. I'm gonna go to Discord really fast because you might have stream delay on, and you're not in the game anymore. you can go to Discord and you can just look at I'm sharing a screen with you.
Ah.
So now,
thank you.
yeah, no problem. So now check this out. The Protoss is trying. It looks like the Protoss is trying to take a third base at 5 minutes, right? It's like, oh shit, okay. The third is going down. The probe, it's like meta right there. It's like, oh, the probe's coming to take a third, and we just assumed it. We didn't actually confirm it, and the Protoss doesn't actually take a third. I should have definitely scouted again. And then, so the third goes down now at 5:45, and it is, or like rather 5:41. It's a little bit later, and if the third base goes down a little bit later, that could be because you annoyed the Protoss, or it could be because the Protoss is going to all-in you. Either way, it's all good. But again, the point of everything is I hopefully am not making this sound confusing. The point of everything we're trying to make sense of here is once we feel threatened and we know something is going to happen to us, we definitely need to make some type of a defense. We're like, otherwise we're going to die, right? But if we don't feel threatened, the goal of Zerg in this matchup is to definitely hit your ideal saturation, which if you're going to play a macro game, it should be around 80. You should definitely not macro off of about 60 because it makes your army just develop slower. It's low. 60 is definitely in the sense of you need to be more aggressive and you need to get damage done. Otherwise, you're just going to fall behind if your opponent goes to like 80. So 80 is around 80, like 80 to 85 is definitely our goal for a solid macro game. And here's another thing, okay? Check this out. Imagine if we were scouting, right? Let's say we were scouting properly. And let's say we looked at the third base around 7 minutes. Look at how there is no economy on the third. That is a massive sign of aggression. So scouting tells you so much. And again, by now, we probably should have already identified and figured out what the situation probably is. Because, I mean, for instance, if I was making roaches from 5 minutes to 7 minutes on about 56 drones, I want you to know that even if you were wrong, okay, even if you were wrong, and at 5 minutes, you freaked out and were like, oh my god, we need to make roaches, all-in's coming, and then you were just sitting there waiting for the all-in to happen, and you got to now, which is 7 minutes, trust me when I say this, it's very realistic. If you made roaches like off of good injects, essentially, assuming that you're making roaches like not with AFK, like I'm assuming you're making roaches somewhat efficient, right? At 7 minutes, if you made roaches from 5 minutes to 7 minutes and you were freaking out thinking it's an all-in the entire time, right now your supply with roaches would be about 170. I'm dead serious because roaches are super cheap.
Kind of turns into one of those like old school roach max 4
Yeah, exactly. And if that was the case, if that is what you ended up doing, where you were like, I'm freaking out, I don't know, I'm going mass roaches, you could totally have still most likely won this game, mainly because of just sheer supply value. Like, you could have had a situation where you just have like you have a supply that just barrels down to the Protoss's base, and although yes, the Protoss has Void Rays and can kill roaches because you can't kill Void Rays, and the time that the Void Rays would kill the roaches, the third base would die, the natural might die, the main might even die, and it's just like ridiculous. It's like, okay, well, this is a little bit too much. This is a little too many roaches here, and I can't actually save my base because my base can't lift off. Like, so I'm losing buildings as I'm trying to kill the roaches. So it's just one of those things where even if you make the wrong choice, as long as you try to play the build as efficient as you can, that's, you know, make the most of it. But again, why did I not make roaches this game? I didn't make roaches this game because we saw a Stargate. So I went, okay, well, roaches don't necessarily need to be made against Stargate. And even though we didn't make roaches because there was a Stargate, let's see what happens, right? So everything's going. We're kind of just making our drones here. We still made the, okay, so what I mean by that when I say I didn't make roaches,
you made them at like after 66 drones.
Yes, right? I didn't make roaches right as the roach were at like 5 minutes. I didn't go, oh god, we need the roaches now. because it's not a robo and it's not a council. I made the roaches at 3 base full saturation because Stargate builds harass with Stargate and hit with ground units later. That's because, again, it's not priority of tech. It's the secondary tech. This was not a council first. This was a Stargate first. So we don't need to rush roaches. Otherwise, they're just going to sit there for an extra, like, 2 minutes. So I still made safety roaches at 3 base saturation. I'm glad that you caught that. I was trying to make sure you understand that. It seems like you already do, which is fucking awesome. But we made safety roaches after 3 base saturation instead of before 3 base saturation, at 5 minutes instead. So now, off of safety roaches, we then start going into mass drones again up until about 80 to 85. We're at the ideal amount we want. And now what are we going to do again from here? We just start massing Hydras. Because that's the goal, right? We go Hydra focus, only save enough gas for upgrades, be it speed, range, tech, or like 1122, things like that. Whenever we need to add in some type of an upgrade to our build, we make sure we have enough gas for that, and then we just go right back into slamming out Hydras. So I don't want you to have like 1-1 finish and you have legit 0 gas and go, well, now I need to get 2-2, but I have 0 gas, so now I gotta wait for about 20 seconds until I can accumulate 325 gas or something. Because obviously you would have wanted, if you're paying attention, and let's say you have 1-1's like 20 seconds from being done, you could then slam out all your gas then and go, okay, well, now I know 1-1's almost done. Let's start saving gas so that when 1-1's done, I can start 2-2. Same thing with, like, if you're ready to, if your hive tech is almost done and you're like, you made the lurker den as well. When you start the hive, you also start the lurker den. You pair that. But now let's say you're looking at your lurker den. It's like 85% of the way done. You're looking at your hive and it's like 76% of the way done. Like, they're all finishing right around the same time. And you're like, okay, well, I just slammed out all my gas again. And I have now, in the next like 20 seconds or 15 seconds, my hive tech is going to come online. And I need to make an adrenal gland upgrade. I need to get lurker a range upgrade, a lurker speed upgrade. I need to get ready for my next upgrades off my evo chambers. These things are, again, things you should be paying attention to, and save some gas for it. Like, let your gas start banking up a little bit so you can just deplete it all right away on your upgrades, and then you go once again right back into slamming out Hydra Lurker, or rather Hydra as the focus, and then you're good to go. And all your gas priority should literally be Hydra, 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 Hydra. And then excess resources that are not gas, lings. Just lings. And your lings are disposable, so if you want to trade your lings by trying to counter a base, if you ever feel like you're like, you know what, I'm going to send 30 lings up here, or 50 lings over there, do it. That's totally fine. Lings are so disposable. You can definitely throw some lings away and remake them in a second. And then if you get damage done as well on top of that, if a whole base dies because of that, that's amazing. And that's also why adrenal gland is so important of an upgrade here, because it makes your lings so much more fucking powerful. So again, our opponent's amassing zealots, right? And now check this out, right? Like, we're at a situation right around 8 minutes now where we are already fully saturated, and the void rays have been super annoying. She did a super good job with the void rays, not losing them, but also being really annoying with them. And then now suddenly zealots appear, and she's also multi-pronging our base. And I'm out of position. I'm like, oh fuck. Now I have a choice, right? Do I want to chase a unit that might run away? Or do I want to go kill a unit that's going to just run over all my buildings and my drones? Like, these voids are not going to kill my base nearly as fast as all these zealots, so I prioritize the zealots. And then we get up to our base, and as we get here, I'm still making hydras and lings whenever I can afford, right? And this is what the safety roaches bring. It's a meat shield. It's the exact same purpose of what the lurkers serve. I'm not making safety roaches. Like, if I have to make safety roaches and then I have to make more roaches, then so be it. I have to make more roaches because we're getting all in really early. But if I make safety roaches and now I'm in the Hydra phase, and now I'm done with the roach phase, and so now I'm making hydras, the safety roaches act as a meat shield for the hydras. They absorb damage so that hydras don't take it as much, which makes your hydras more effective if you get all in this weird time, because roaches don't do nearly as much damage as hydras do, but they sure do absorb damage better because they have the same aspect of a lurker in that regard, which is they have more health than a hydra does. Not nearly as much as a lurker, but they still have more, because a lurker has 200 and a roach only has 145. but they both have passive armor. So my Hydras my Hydras have 0 armor, but Roaches and Lurkers have 1 armor. So it's a meat shield. So this is why this Zealot attack, even though it looked kind of scary for a second there, it's why it went so well for us, is because these Roaches just tank the shit out of this damage for our Hydras. And once you win the first fight like this, and now we don't need Roaches anymore because we're actually just outmassing with Hydra, then it's fine. But for a moment, that was kind of scary. And like all my Roaches die so that my Hydras may live.
Oh, yeah.
Vibulation Vibugasm.
Yo, Crone Dance, thank you for the 11 month subs, dude. Thank you, thank you. And again, if our creep spread is more efficient too, we can definitely spot this coming from further and further away. And now, see like how this second time around, where even though we don't have Roaches, now again we're cranking out a lot of our gas on Hydras, and then cranking out the rest of our resources again that are excess on Lings. And at this point, we still have a lot of Hydras, and I mean it's comparable Hydra to Zealot, but I mean Lings kind of fill the same job of Roaches and Lurkers. They definitely don't do as good of a job. Lings definitely die a lot faster, but they still waste time of Zealots having to kill Lings that are just in their way while the Hydras really kill the Zealots. And then, you know, at this point, it's you know, it's just a matter of this build. It was definitely designed to kill, and it ended up not killing. So it ended here. But if the game did not end here, all I would have done is, you can see I have Lurker upgrades. You can see I have Adrenal upgrades. You can see I'm going on 2-2. I would have gone 3-3 because even though there was a lot of Zealots, the Protoss still opened Stargate. The fact that Stargate exists, I'm going to prioritize level 3 Carapace first. And then I'll get melee afterwards. And I'm just going to start setting up the game now into going into like 12 Lurkers. And I'll start going into Ling Lurker Hydra attacks. Now, aside from that, the only thing I would do aside from that would be, at this point in the game, have you ever heard me talk about a triangle Lurker defense? Have you ever heard me say that?
No, I didn't think so.
Okay, so this is the final thing I want to say. And this is like the last little piece, little bow tie on your ZvP, okay? And again, feel free to ask me any questions if there's anything not making sense. But the last thing I would do would be now what I call a triangle Lurker defense. So even though, you know how I'm saying make 12 Lurkers for your army? You would make 15 total, and the reason why is a triangle has 3 sides, and each point of the triangle is where a Lurker would be. And the way a triangle would work is your main base is always one of those points on the triangle. It's always one of the 3 sides. Like one of the 3 ends of the triangle is always your main base. And why is your main base one of these, like why is it always one of these points? And it's because it's where all of your tech is. A lot of times this is where your pool will be. This is where your hive will be. This is where your other tech will be more often than not. So you need to put a Lurker in the main base. And what this does is it fucking owns Protosses who go for a warp prism. And they try to harass you all day. The second and the third points of the triangle shift throughout the game. And the second point is the left side of the map. The third point is the right side of the map. Whatever is the furthest exposed base. So right now, it would be here. And right now, on this side, it would be here.
Each, though.
Yeah, so if let's just say let's say this base was done, and now I expanded here. I would shift the Lurker from there to there. I would also, let's say this base is done, and I now took this base. I would shift a Lurker from here to here, because this is, again, the triangle defense. This is where we need to set up our defense in, because what the Protoss is going to do, the Protoss only attacks you 2 different ways with Zealots. They're going to either warp in units and go a move around the map, and go to the sides, because they don't want to run through the center, because if they run through the center, they're just going to run into Lurkers and Hydras from your main army and just die. So they're going to go around the sides to avoid you at all costs and drag you out of position, kind of like what she was doing to me, where she's dragging me down with Void Rays and then attacking with Zealots on this side. Zealots are designed to drag Zerg out of position. Or like if Zerg is not in position entirely, it's designed to kill expansions that are also not being covered properly. So they'll always go around the sides of the map with Zealots. Or they will literally fly with a prism beyond your base into your main and hit your main with the Zealots. So it's always that the Triangle Lurker defense destroys that. And to pair defense with Triangle Lurker defense, make Static D with it. So the way I like to say it as well is your main, like the bases that are currently the triangle, try to have like 8 spine crawlers and like 1 spore, maybe 2 spores at each one of those bases. And what that does is it gives you a lot of power that the lurkers can also utilize, because the spines will be initially taking the hits and also doing damage back to the zealots, but the lurkers will kill zealots off of the spines. This way you're not watching a lurker try to kill zealots as the zealots are killing all your drones. Because otherwise, if you didn't build spines, your drones would all fucking die every time, because the lurker can't kill it fast enough by itself. But if you have spines there, a lurker can definitely kill it off of the spines, and the spines definitely also poke the zealots to death, and you'll get way better trades. Like if 10 zealots engage 8 spines in a lurker, you'll probably lose 1 spine and kill 8 zealots. That's a great trade for Zerg. Then lastly, so you have 8 spines at the triangle bases, and you have like 2 spines at non-triangle bases. And why do you have those? What if the Protoss sends like 1 DT, 1 DT, 1 DT, 1 DT, 1 DT? You don't want to be like, oh my god, fucking 4 bases have DTs at it. And this is annoying, because I have no defense there. If you just make like 2 spines and a spore at every base in the middle, you're going to have a much better chance to not take damage from zealots or from DTs and random little crappy, annoying pressure that's like low supply investment, but can potentially do a lot if you don't prepare for it. So let's say that this base has 8 spines at it and 1 spore. And I go, okay, I'm ready to take this base. You know what I can do? I can double click all my spines here and shift click out 2 out, uproot 6 spines, put them over here, and build 2 new spines. That's now the new outside base. You could totally do that. So it's again, setting up your base is very important, because if you can grab economy and then retain it, and your opponent can't break it, that's amazing, because the way you actually win ZvP is you break each other's economy. Overall, like, you'll realize this a lot once you get to high level. Don't be the guy that never protects his bases and then lets himself die to zealot counterattacks. Because if I was coaching Protoss here, I would say the same fucking thing to Protoss, and I would say, make sure, if you're playing a long game, build cannons and batteries, because you don't want to be the person that lets your bases all just get manhandled by Zerglings and all your probes die. You definitely need to build Static D in late game ZvP, because Ling and Zealot run-bys are so prevalent in ZvP. It's how you win games half the time. So I know that was a lot, but how do you feel?
Cool. I mean, this is quite exciting. I want to go play against some Protosses now. Nice,
man. Well, dude, I wish you.
So that's really good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about anything to finish it off?
No, I think I'm gonna look over the replay again for like the droning, and because that's always the. But
sure.
Yeah, I think I got answers to the things I can think of now.
Okay. Well, good luck, and
thank you very much.
I hope your ZvP starts crushing. Face all the way till like masters, and maybe even like high masters to low GM or something. Because like again, once you get, if you're pushing for like high GM and you're playing against like pro gamers and shit, you gotta definitely do more than this. But if your goal is just to get like masters or like possibly even break into GM, I honestly think you could do it without any spellcasters. I really do. And the reason why I say that is because I can 100% guarantee you I could play up to GM like with this style against Protoss, and I could get GM without using spellcasters. And the reason why is because if you have a really good understanding of how to use Hydra Lurker Ling, the sky's the limit with that. It's so fucking strong. It's super strong. But again, I mean, I can't disrespect spellcasters and say they're not good. Obviously, they're amazing too. They make it even better, but it just makes it more complicated. So definitely don't add them in until you can really handle Hydra Lurker Ling like very comfortably. Because the last thing I want you to do is like set up a fight and be like, oh god, okay, I just lost everything. Because you're just like, okay, I'm like flustered and everything feels confusing and I can't micro this. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people do that to themselves, and it just makes it to where it's like, maybe you're not ready for that yet. Maybe you should really fine-tune your Lurkerling Hydra first and then add after.
I definitely think I have some like some levels of moving the army and positioning before I can add more stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So
I have enough trouble keeping injecting while I do.
Yeah. Yep.
ahead of ourselves.
But and also keep in mind too, someone just said something in chat where they said, "Isn't eight too many spines? That's 8 drones." Make sure you make drones and replace them every time you make spines. So make sure you're not like making spines at every base every time you expand, and you're like, I only have 47 drones now. Make sure every time you're gonna make spines, you already have either pre-built or you're going to build drones right away. Like it's totally okay if you're gonna expand to another base and your drone count goes up to 105. And then you're like, well, I'm expanding twice, and I'm now making 16 spine crawlers. So you like take the hatcheries, take the gas, take 16 spines, take 2 spore crawlers, and now suddenly your drone count goes from like 105 back down to like 86. So make sure you remake drones. Don't ever let your drone count dip down below about 80. The only time, this is important to know, the only time your drone count should ever drop below 80 is when the game is so long. Let's say the game's 34 minutes long, and you legit can't mine efficiently anymore because all the bases are mining out, and you can only actively mine with like 62 drones or like 55 drones, and you have like a base that looks like every base is optimally saturated, and then the one base that's oversaturated is like 34 drones out of 16, and you're like, okay, that's just not efficient anymore. Then definitely at that point, try not to have 80 drones. You can definitely drop that drone count down a little bit to make more units.
Protoss is like sending the probe train.
Yeah, exactly, right? You know what that means. You know what I mean. So don't say 80 drones regardless. Only do it as long as you can efficiently mine with it, which will be most of your games. Like it literally lasts until like 30 minutes. All right, well, Martin, dude, have yourself a great night. I know it's pretty late for you now. Probably gonna go to bed, I imagine. You're gonna sleep on it. But dude, thanks for doing another coaching lesson. I really do appreciate the Patreon, or as long as you've done it. And dude, good luck in ZvP.
Thank you very much. And I guess you're doing B2GM now, so
yeah.
Happy gold grinding.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'll talk to you next time, dude.
Yeah. Bye bye.
All right, see you, dude. All right, guys, that has been a coaching lesson with Martin. He's our boy. He's a nice guy. Martin, I like you, man. You're a good guy. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. This, again, has been a diamond level Zerg lesson. So, also, props, shout out to Larissa for helping me out, playing me with Protoss, so I could give him more of a live example, not just versus AI. Thank you for helping. And, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps you. If it did, and if you're craving more, I have tons of content on my YouTube channel. There's lots more coaching lessons out there. There's replay analysis, which is really similar to coaching. It's just teaching how to play StarCraft. There's Bronze to GM, which is like a guide on how to play StarCraft. Tons and tons and tons of stuff on my YouTube channel. If you're either watching this on Twitch right now, or if you're someone who just happened to catch this video, my channel has tons of StarCraft stuff. If you're curious about how to get better RTS specifically, obviously mostly StarCraft, but it definitely applies to RTS in general. But much love. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and have a great day. Have a great night. See you guys.